In today's video, we're going to be talking about 18 fundamental documents you need for the business loan application process. Put it on playback speed 1.75 if you have to, because this is absolutely critical. In our last video, popping up here, we talked about application fundamentals and how to prepare. So here we are now where you've got to get your documents. Let's get into it. 3-year tax return. Trev, what do you say about that?
Get rid of all the junk. Take the cover page from your CPA out, get the payment coupons out, and don't submit the state returns. Oh, and by the way, if you do your own tax returns and you use those software packages whose name we won't mention out loud, get rid of all those worksheets. I have seen a tax return for a business that was only 16 pages, and it was 126 pages submitted by the client, which I had to go through every form and delete. Make your lender's job easier.
What if they don't know what to take out? Is there any tip on that?
Yeah, hire an accountant.
Ugh.
We did a video on that.
Truth hurts. It's time. If you're making money, it's time. Okay. Next is a year-to-date profit and loss statement. People get lost.
Typically, you have to seek out a signature. You know, if you're a corporation, you have a proper chief financial officer, or if you're a smaller business with a bookkeeper. But really and truly, the best profit and loss statement is one signed off by your outside accountant. In fact, if you're buying a house when you are self-employed, the mortgage company will always ask you for a profit and loss signed by the accountant. It doesn't have to be audited, but it has to be reviewed and signed by the accountant. It's the best way to submit it.
As we are listing these, if there are questions about why, please leave a comment below. Maybe you haven't hired a CPA yet. Ask the question below because we can expound further. We're just trying to get through the documents so you have this list. Next, current balance sheet.
Balance sheet? What's a balance sheet? Cash assets against liabilities. What's the balance when all is done? Don't know how to do that? You could Google it. You could go to the store and buy an accounting book. Or you know what you could do, Linda Ray? Hire an accountant.
Oh, here it is again. Next, AR aging report. AR stands for accounts receivable. If you don't have accounts receivable, this doesn't apply to you, but many people do.
Whether it's a vendor or a client who pays you net 30, means they pay 30 days, or they have an agreement to pay net 36, which is 36 months. Either way, an accounts receivable aging report is often a vital part of your application paperwork.
Next is a schedule of liabilities. For schedule liabilities, aka 2202, if you're unsure, because what we've seen is that people confuse liabilities with overhead or expenses versus liabilities. Rent, car payments, utilities, those are all expenses and overhead that you deduct on your tax returns.
If you have a mortgage, if you have payments, credit payments on equipment or vehicles, things of that nature, or maybe an investor in the business made a loan to the business, or you have accounts payable maybe from purchasing supplies or something, those are liabilities, not expenses.
Speaking of mortgages, next you're going to want to include any real estate holdings that you have in the business name. A lot of sole props were like, do I put my mortgage for my home because I work from home and I'm a sole prop? No.
In the business name.
Don't put your home mortgage.
In the business name means you've created an entity. Instead of Trevor Curran, sole proprietor, it's Trevor Curran Incorporated, which I like the sound of that.
If you have business real estate, but you created a separate entity for it and it's not the name of the entity that you're applying for this loan, that isn't included either. This 2202 is tricky. It's a one-page form and yet it confounds most people. This is where your trusted CPA, and if you don't have one, get one. This is probably the 15th time we said this in the last two videos. You need to research and or Google. Get familiar. You are responsible.
Just to be clear, in every application, it's not called a 2202. That's for the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. But if you're applying as a commercial loan or under one of these U.S. Treasury community development loans, that may not be called a 2202, but it is called
a schedule of liabilities.
Bingo.
But it's the same thing. Next is the inventory report, because that's assets. Do you want to expound on that? Or?
Not really.
Next, personal financial statement, aka PFS.
That's for your personal debts and assets. That's where, if you're a sole proprietor, you put your house down and the mortgage on the house.
Yes.
If you're not a sole proprietor, you're a corporation or an LLC, then the owners of The business, and that's all owners, by the way, must provide a personal financial statement. Stop trying to argue with the wind, which is what a lot of people, why do I have to complete this? I'm not personally guaranteeing. First of all, you probably are going to personally guarantee it, but secondly, lenders require it, so get ready.
Okay, next is photo ID. Make sure it's not expired.
Oh boy.
We've seen this. People forget. Put a calendar reminder that you got to go to the DMV and renew your driver's license, for goodness sake, or your passport.
And create it in a proper, clean, scanned PDF.
There are ways to make it neat. Be tidy. Be respectful about how you're presenting your stuff.
If it's a U.S. passport you're using for photo ID, make sure you scan the outside of the book that shows the United States seal and everything, and then the inside of the information page. You don't have to do all the other pages about you having gone, to here and there and everywhere. Just the information page and the outside cover.
Next is a current bank statement. Really important. They want to see how the money is flowing. Next is your business formation documents.
Oh
man.
Boy.
If you don't know where they are, find them. If you don't have them, best to find where you can get replacement documents.
As we stated in our previous video, we recommend getting a folder set up well in advance of you starting your application process. So those articles of formation, your IRS SS4 showing your EIN number registration should all be in that folder already.
When we share this with you, it is because we have seen
thousands.
The disaster of the filing for disaster loans. So this isn't coming from a place of judgment. This is coming from, don't do this, because we've seen it done.
It will harm your ability to get approved.
Next.
A letter of good standing from your state regulator, whether it's a Secretary of State, usually is, that your business is paid up to date with any annual fees and your business exists and is registered with the state. Next, do you have to pay state sales taxes? You want to show your lender that you are current on sales tax payments. So get from your Department of Revenue Services a letter or a statement showing you're paid. Next, crazy as it's going to sound, your website address and a PDF screenshot of the opening page of your website. Yeah, lenders ask for stuff like that.
Next is single point of contact when communicating about your loan application and your loan process.
One person.
Not the committee, not the board.
Three. And let's be clear, make sure it's somebody who is fairly well organized. We've seen many instances where the person that I have to contact for our client is a mess. So single person contact, and include full contact information, an email address, one that works, a phone number, cell phone number if possible, and really should make that possible.
Next, you're going to want to go to the NAICS website, which is the North American Industry Classification Society, and triple confirm your business information for the code associated with your business.
Don't rely on what your accountant put on your tax returns. We have seen time and again the accountants use a generic code. Be specific, because specific is terrific. Next is any supporting professionals that a lender might want to talk to, such as your accountant or your attorney, or if you use an outside bookkeeping service. Provide a sheet with full contact information, name, address, email, website, phone number, and if they'll allow it, cell phone, and then contact your professional. Say, hey, we just applied for a loan. You might get contacted by a lender.
Finally, check your state website that all of your information is accurate as well. I think there's a theme here. It's triple checking, quadruple checking, quintuple checking.
You know how many times we've seen on a state website the business name doesn't match the tax return? For whatever reason, make sure it all matches. Lenders, check it out.
I just want to reiterate that these are things we've seen where business owners could have done better. There are improvements we all can make with how we manage our business. Most of the time, we are running our business to make money, but we have to remember there's also the managing of the business with the essentials.
Organizing all this stuff and verifying it all now is just good for your business, whether you're applying for a loan today or you need access to the paperwork a year from now or 5 years from now.
Happy applying!